Hey up everyone. Well, this started as a story about one guy and one bike, but it quickly became two and then more very quickly. So it will now be a series of videos, and I just wanted to get this part out to start things off. The initial story was about a 2022 Triumph Speed Triple RS, and to be fair, this bike didn't have one problem. It had problem after problem after problem until a catalogue of failures was sent to me. Then the guy concerned was left in limbo, and only now it comes to light that at least part of the reason is that the Triumph distributor for Australia has gone bust. So any Triumph owners in Australia are potentially in a bit of a mess right now. That is something else I will try and come back to when I have more info. What it revealed was that there is a serious problem going on at Triumph. This time, not financially as far as I'm aware, but it is just as serious. The comment that started it was, "I remember emailing Triumph about this issue earlier last year. They stated that they'd done FEE analysis on the component and it passed. I did a CAD model myself and also did FEE analysis. My software Autodesk showed a major stress concentration at the circlip groove. It was bright red. That's bad. More than a year later, they're still failing. Notice, this one is black, mine is silver, manufactured 3 years apart. Nice to see they addressed the issue. This was mine that broke last year at approximately 17,000 kilometres. I've seen a number of failed gear shift input shafts now on Speed Triple 1200 RS, extending a highly stressed shaft out more than 8 times its diameter. Nice. Before I go on, I have to say a quick thank you for all the support, and especially to the BAREBONESMC family on the Ko-fi page. You can find more videos there and on the Rumble channel, as well as on the backup channel here on YouTube. But for now, grab a cuppa and settle in for some truths you just won't hear elsewhere. If you're watching on a mobile, please try and give the video as many hype points as you can too, as YouTube's latest addition to its algorithm is now taking centre stage on importance, even though it's only available on mobile so far. So beyond the reason I began looking into all of this, which was what appears to be similar problems with engine heating camshafts that KTM had with the LC8C engine bikes, I had to look at the selector shaft and the quick shifter problem. I will go on to talk about the cams in a future video, because actually the Triumph quick shifter seems to be a bigger problem for now. Without even trying, I found 9 people who responded to one guy's recent post about his problems, and as I continued, it seemed like every Triumph forum I searched had more. Now, I'm a long-term, long-suffering Triumph owner, and I do love the bikes, but as I have said often before, I am far from keen on the way the company operates. From the sprag clutch issues and the refusal to look at the Triumph Tiger 800 rear foot peg hanger design, despite hundreds of written off bikes and the often patchy and expensive part supply, Triumph have form when it comes to customer dissatisfaction. But these problems were getting life ending for the bikes at times, and potentially dangerous for the riders too. Now, this is a problem I was first made aware of on the Speed Triple RS. It seems to affect all the bikes that have or have been fitted with the Triumph quick shifter to a lesser or greater extent, but it is the big Speed Triple RS that seems to have the most trouble. It's not just one problem either, but the main issue is such a basic design flaw that yet again I bow my head in disbelief at the ineptitude of the so-called designer who threw it together. On the gearbox selector shaft, a circlip holds the selector shaft in place. The selector shaft actually protrudes a long way outside the gearbox housing to the drop arm for the quick shifter, as you can see in the pictures here. Basic physics tells you that this increases the bending force between the drop arm and the anchor point at the gearbox housing. It is at this point where the linear movement of the quick shifter is converted to rotational movement inside the gearbox. Where the circlip is mounted, the shaft is narrower to allow the circlip to sit in the groove on the shaft, and the abrupt motion of the quick shifter on the drop arm puts both vertical and rotational stresses on the selector shaft at the same time. The problem is, that shaft is quite thin and sticks out too far without any support. That means the forces at the gearbox casing are very high, and the shear strength of the selector shaft is compromised by the groove for the circlip. If the shaft was over-engineered to start with, then that wouldn't be an issue. However, because the shaft itself has been made from a relatively thin rod, the shear strength of that joint is barely strong enough. Triumph have fixed some under warranty, but seem happy in general to just keep charging people to fix the breakage, which, to be fair, isn't a massively expensive job, but they fix it with the same part that failed in the first place, and it can leave people stuck in a position where they can't get home, or worse, it's an accident waiting to happen. One key thing here is that although it is a known issue, and some cases have been repaired under warranty in some countries, it is not listed as a recall, so replacement and refitting remains at the dealer's and Triumph's discretion, and as I have said, the repair is simply a replacement of the known defective part, and we know that not all dealers are as helpful or as willing as others. As you will hear, some riders have replaced the unit with aftermarket options, and there is also mention of a support mechanism to minimise the stress on the selector shaft. Now, in some ways, I would say that's a bit of a bodge job to get around a poor design, but that is just me, I guess. It seems many people are happy to just accept the fact that they run the chance of a breakdown and try to mitigate the problem or fix it with aftermarket parts themselves. Should we as riders accept that sort of treatment? Is it okay for a high-end brand to do this? In just one post, DJ Ison said, "Hi guys, just bought myself a 1200 RS. First problem has arisen. I'm actually having trouble with the quick shifter. I have a transmission fault on the dash, which hasn't been plugged in to read it yet. I'm being told by multiple sources that the Triumph quick shifters aren't very good and I'm best off fitting a Translogic. Anyone else had any issues with the quick shifter in which it's thrown a transmission code? Thanks in advance." So, this wasn't a breakage, but a conscious owner trying to find out what to do. The replies showed how big this problem is. John Allen said, "Yes, mine has transmission fault when you turn the shift assist on. Triumph told me it was dead. The bike had 1,500 miles on it." Mark Charlie said, "Could also be the servo eliminator. I had the same problem. Put a new Translogic on and the same problem, changed the eliminator and had no problem." Adam Wilson said, "As you've been told, it's a known problem. Translogic is cheaper than a Triumph replacement anyhow, so it makes financial sense to go Translogic." Song Chung Kai said, +1, quick shifter dead at 400 kilometers. Already buy a Translogic for instead. Jordan Cavazos said, "I had a transmission fault at 300 miles on my 2023 model. Had it replaced under warranty. Yesterday it happened again." John Quinn said, "Mine went after 12 months. Triumph replaced it under warranty. Isn't yours under warranty?" Stuart Robinson said, "Got rid of mine with 1,000 miles on it after it blew blue smoke out the back end at 800 miles. Dealer pretty much ignored me. Never buying one of these Thai bikes again. Cheaply made for way too much money." Derek Blades said, "It's a common fault. Mine's being replaced by Triumph under warranty." Stuart Cammy McCann said, "I watched the video that the harness for the quick shifter is too close to the engine. It needs routed away." Then ended a front post by Roman Thielemann about another Speed Triple 1200 RS. He said, "I have a broken gear shaft. What can I do? Any idea if it's a doable fix it myself, or in case a dealer is necessary, what could be the approximate cost?" The replies came thick and fast. Will Milner said, "Same thing happened to my 955 and you have to pull all the right side cases and clutch basket to get the end shaft out. Not horrible, but definitely involved." Alan Sharp said, I fitted a race torque support, well worth fitting. Roman Tieleman commented here too. He said, I had the same issue on my 2018 RS. Seems a common issue. Cost me 3 days of track time in Spain. Relatively easy fix, but you need to be confident, and aligning the clutch basket and gears is the hardest part. Andre Gasser said, had the same on my 2022 Speed Triple 1200 RS, warranty. Gianluca Bombacci said, I broke mine too, €200 for spare parts, access behind the clutch. Giuseppe LaRusso said, I had some problem on my 2021 RS. If you have a good experience you can fix by yourself. Have to work on the right side and dismount the entire clutch. It could take 4 hours, but you need to order the pieces and at least the tool. Colin Liders said, it's a reasonably common failure due to the length of unsupported shaft and the circlip groove creating a weak point. If you talk to your dealer they might replace it as a goodwill gesture. If you search the groups, I think there is a post somewhere else outlining the procedure for doing the replacement job. Once you get it replaced, put a race torque support on it. Simon Cooper said, just completed this for a customer. The bill was £380 total with all new original parts. Andy Harrison said, the dealership can look at the warranty system which will give them guidance as to how long the job will take. In my opinion, you'll probably need to take off the clutch cover, probably the clutch basket, and you'll then see the end of the selector drum and the shift forks either side of it. The selector shaft should just pull out once you've disengaged the forks from the drum, and another shaft can be inserted. The biggest problem will be removing the clutch, locking it, and a big enough socket are the issues. AFC Steve said, dealer job or a qualified mechanic. Jared Harper said, put a race torque gear selector support on it if you do it yourself. For this model, it stops the end float on the shaft. And Barend Olivier said, I had exactly the same on my 2023 in South Africa and the dealership fixed it. So, you can see, this is a well documented issue, and yet another issue that Triumph haven't issued a recall on, even though they know now it's an issue. Why is that okay? Why is it that people have to break down and get left stranded before anything is done? The simple answer yet again is cost. Triumph don't care if you break down in the middle of nowhere and are left stranded with no transport. They might fix it for free if you can get it to them and they're feeling generous, but more often than not, if it's not within the warranty, you will be left to foot the bill yourself. They obviously crunched the numbers and it was more expensive to do a proper fix when most bikes would make it past the point where the warranty expires. I have spoken to someone who stated that they now updated the part, but I haven't found the details yet and I'm still not sure if the new part can be retrofitted to older bikes. More importantly, Triumph have still not formally accepted it as a fault or issued a recall to fix the problem. In a deep dive I will be doing soon, I will include some major testing and CAD analysis on the part, and I hope I will have much more information by then. But this is a significant number of people affected, and far more than a few anomalies. It's a genuine failure point. The other problem I want to talk about is the camshaft problem, and I will be looking at that particular case in a future video, but I would love to hear from more people who have had issues either with the quick shifter or with the camwear problems. I'm putting a file of evidence together to approach Triumph to try and attempt to see if we can get them to acknowledge what is a more common problem than they would like everyone to know. As you can see in the slides here, the camshaft is toast and led to a complete engine strip down. What's interesting though is that, as you can see, it is only really one cam lobe that has suffered. However, it suffered so catastrophically in what is a relatively short time, it shows that there is some major problem that is likely to be related either to lubrication or hardness of the cam lobe. So here we go again with more chocolate camshaft issues. But that, as they say, is a story for another day. Thanks as always for watching, and I look forward to hearing your comments. You know I'll reply as soon as I can. Try and remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you're watching on a mobile, hitting the hype button helps too. And sharing the video anywhere you think people will be interested helps us a lot, so it's possibly the most helpful thing of all right now. Do remember to look in the subscription tab, because in my honest opinion, the YouTube algorithm is broken. The channels you subscribe to are much less likely to appear in your homepage now. You will have to go to the subscription tab to search us out. If you'd like to help us to stay truly independent, on the Ko-fi link in the description you get access to a private group where I share videos I can't screen on YouTube. There are videos anyone can watch, but you can also make a one-off donation or join our group of monthly subscribers for access to other videos that only the channel's patrons can see. Join us on Rumble too. There is some great content there I just can't share on YouTube. And don't forget, we make the best biker t-shirts. Hundreds of original designs on quality t-shirts and neck gaiters, all available worldwide. Links to the main website and to the Redbubble shop are in the description. Have a great week, and always remember, keep your spanners close and your keys even closer. Ride free, everyone!